Hello everyone and welcome back to Size Matters. You're just in time because I just finished playing a bunch of mini games I really didn't want to play, so that way we could get a new suit of armor, or pieces to a new set of armor rather. And because Clank is inexplicably alive as the bad guys chose not to kill him for unknown reasons, we are going to go rescue Ratchet because Scrunch appeared spontaneously with a plot device that told us exactly where Ratchet is being kept. Brilliant. It's time for a new gameplay segment, by the way. This one's inoffensive, I guess. So we're flying through space as Giant Clank, and we get a sort of Star Fox style shooty segment, 3D shoot 'em up thingamajigger, and it's okay. It functions. The enemy types are really bland. The shooting itself is really bland. It has less depth than Star Fox 64, in spite of Star Fox 64 coming out some years ago. And I'm not saying I want or expect the Clank shoot 'em up segments to be of the same quality as Star Fox 64, because Star Fox 64 is incredibly high quality and is very well designed. But the mechanics here are really sparse. You have a basic shot, and after you shoot enough enemies, you get some rockets, and you can press the rocket button to shoot more powerful rocket shots. It's just kind of what you're seeing is what you get. I don't have a real problem with this segment because it's short and it adds variety to the game, in a game all about adding variety. But it is very indicative of the problem that all the minigames in this game have, aside from the hoverboarding one, in that all the minigames are just very plain and uncreative. Like, going to space as Giant Clank and engaging in a shoot 'em up segment, that should be creative, and I'm sure the intention was for it to be creative. But the execution has to be creative, not just the idea. And the execution of this minigame we're doing right now is just, it's okay. It's exceedingly average. The most challenging thing about this entire minigame are the sections where you have to dodge through tight spaces that aren't actually as tight as they look because of the perspective. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know if the trick with the perspective is intentional, but it feels good to dodge through such tight spaces, even though they're not actually as tight as they appear. I have a real thing for threading the needle, which is why I play driving games so much. And, you know, I guess this taps into that just a bit. Not enough for me to recommend the entire segment based on that alone, but considering this is the only mandatory Giant Clank segment in the game, and it lasts for, like, what, 4 minutes? It's not a big deal. The segment's alright. I feel like maybe this game would have been better as just a string of loosely connected levels with no ongoing plot. I think that would have been a better decision in the end, because the story builds there's so much potential in the story that goes absolutely nowhere, and it's just really depressing. I don't know if overambition was the issue, but the story has so many moving pieces that don't need to be there, and it has so many unmoving pieces that need to be moving. It's really weird. Like, the idea of the Technomites is really cool, and when I first played this game I was hoping we would learn more about Technomite society and what the Technomites do, how they work, what kind of technology they build, who uses the technology, how they get the technology from the Technomites. Never really comes up. The start of the game builds them up like this some sort of mythological thing that makes all technology work, but that's blatantly not the case, because there's plenty of technology that functions without their interference. So you never really learn what they do or what they're for. We just know they build things. What things they build, why they build them, and, you know, any other questions you might have regarding interesting things, those never get answered. Such a wasted concept, and I get they wanted to do something with size because, you know, it's a portable game. I get they thought they were being cute and clever, and I'm sure there is a way to make the Technomites work as a concept, but whoever wrote this game did not do that. The other Ratchet games seem to kind of ignore that this one exists, though. which I think is probably for the better because the weird side plot involving Quark's parents and the Technomites just really feel completely out of place with the rest of Ratchet and Clank's world building and tone. This game's tone in general doesn't feel very Ratchet and Clank. The closest thing to a reference for this game that I can remember in other Ratchet and Clank games is the Grungoth in Full Frontal Assault, which bears a resemblance and similar attack pattern to Mungo, even though Mungo is way better. You know, as much as I talk down about this game's story, which is really bad, and this game's minigames, which are completely inoffensive but very boring, I really do like this game quite a lot, and I do think it's a console-quality game. It even does some things better than the main Ratchet games. It does some things better than Insomniac, you know? And that's to be proud of. Mungo is a great boss battle with a lot of momentum. Some of the level designs, level gimmicks, and gadgets are really creative and fun and feel like they're from a really inventive, completely separate 3D platformer that's in no way related to Ratchet and Clank. I kind of think that's when this game is at its best, really, is when it's just being a 3D platformer that feels nothing like Ratchet and Clank, aside from having Ratchet and Clank characters and a Ratchet and Clank control scheme. And that sort of thing gets more and more apparent as the game goes on and we get into some more of the weirder level designs and weirder gimmicks. This boss is not nearly as hard as I'm making it look, by the way. I'm just being really impatient, and that's why I'm getting hit so goddamn much. It's really easy to just take pot shots at it and not get hit at all, but I'm being really impatient because I want the boss to be over sooner.